Okay, so we just reviewed some earlier stone technology and material culture, and now we're moving on to what was produced by anatomically modern humans. If we look at this chart here, we can see Chattoperonian was made by Homo neanderthalensis, but then later we get Aurignacian and Gravettian. So these are Upper Paleolithic tool technologies and emerging around 40,000 years ago and onward. Starting around 30,000 years ago, there was a warming trend that produced tundra and steppe throughout much of Eurasia, creating a hunter's paradise of plentiful large game. And this environmental change caused a cultural change as well, as people were adapting and hunting these animals. So we can see that the Upper Paleolithic people became very successful, and this period saw the highest population densities up to that time in Europe and perhaps Africa. So people were learning to survive and doing well. Cultural innovations in Eurasia, such as warmer, better fitting sewn clothing, allowed Upper Paleolithic people to occupy Eastern Europe and Northern Asia for the first time. The warming trend that I mentioned earlier ended about 20,000 years ago as the last most intense period of glaciation began. So there was a brief warming period and then the ice came back. Here are some examples of more advanced stone tool technology than had been before. For example, this is more technologically advanced than what we would have seen with the Oldowan or Acheulean stone tool kits. So the Upper Paleolithic is distinguished by the appearance of new tool types as well as the increased use of materials such as bone, antler, and ivory. It could also be that these were more likely to survive, the elements because they're newer. But anyway, another stone tool type, Solutrean tools, exemplify skill and likely aesthetic application, and they are considered the most highly developed Upper Paleolithic industry. The Magdalenian is a last stage of the Upper Paleolithic, and it includes more advances in technology such as the spear thrower or atlatl, as well as barbed harpoons. The punch blade technique provided abundant standardized blades that were fashioned into a variety of tools such as burins and borers. Here is an atlatl. So basically what this does is provides leverage and length to propel a spear, a wooden spear, much further and faster than could be done by hand. Here is a burin, a very common Upper Paleolithic tool, and an example of, so next to it, letter B here, an example of a Solutrean blade. This is the best known work of the Solutrean tradition, and you can see how kind of beautiful and symmetrical this blade is. And as I mentioned earlier, it's considered the most highly developed of any Upper Paleolithic industry. The Upper Paleolithic of Western Europe is also famous for the appearance of various forms of art, including the cave art of France and Spain, sculptures, engravings, and portable art, such as engravings on tools and tool handles. Also, this includes female figurines known as Venuses, which appear in Western, Central, and Eastern Europe, and I'll show you those on the next slide. By the Aurignacian period, around 40,000 years ago, many examples of portable art were being done in tools and tool handles, carving on bone and ivory. The earliest musical instruments were found recently and dated using improved carbon dating at a cave in southwest Germany. And we can see this bone flute example dated to around 35,000 years ago. Here are these Venus figurines, these kind of mysterious, provocative, and very kind of fertile looking. They're thought to perhaps be part of a fertility belief system. But these, as I mentioned, were found throughout Europe in the Upper Paleolithic. In the Czech Republic, two sites dating to around 25 to 29,000 years ago had small animal figurines fashioned from fire clay. As well, these are the times of the painted caves, or the famous cave paintings, reaching their climax with more than 150 sites, most in southwest France and northern Spain. In Africa, at the Apollo 11 rock shelter site, painted slabs date between 28 and 26,000 years ago, making these as old as those found in Europe. And as well, personal adornments in the form of ostrich shell beads have been found and could be much older. At Blombos Cave, farther to the south, remarkable stone tools, beads, and decorated ochre fragments are all dated to around 73,000 years ago. Another cave, Zibudu Cave in South Africa, dated to 70,000 years ago, had traces of compound adhesives made from red ochre and plant gum, which were then used to haft stone tools to handles. Katanga in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has 3 sites that have yielded finely crafted bone tools, similar to European Upper Paleolithic harpoons. The bone tools have not been precisely dated, but they are believed to be as early as 80,000 years old. So, to conclude, the Upper Paleolithic is the culmination of 2 million years of cultural evolution. Late Pleistocene humans had a faster pace of cultural innovation than any previous group of humans. In Europe, southern and central Africa, cultural innovations included big game hunting and new deadly weapons such as the atlatl, the harpoon, and eventually the bow and arrow. Upper Paleolithic humans had body ornaments, needles, tailored clothing, and more elaborate burials, perhaps even indicating a status hierarchy. After 10,000 years ago, the climate slowly warmed and the glaciers retreated. Grinding hard seeds and roots became increasingly important, and eventually the domestication of plants and animals ensued. This human story of the different human populations getting to different places across the globe brings us to our video for this week, The Human Family Tree. It's about a genographic project where it basically incorporates genetics over time and through space to trace ancient human migrations.